Hey, Gabriel,
Hey, Gaybros, Jose.
where are we today?
We are actually still in our apartments, but I will say that I did eat at a restaurant yesterday.
That's amazing. That's
It
amazing
was
that you're
great.
like, yeah, that you're going back to normality.
I really enjoyed it, and I was very surprised at myself that I didn't go to a restaurant today. I think
Yeah.
that I'm just so used to staying at home. Like, that's my thing now.
Actually, we started about it yesterday. Forgot to ask you. You want us to record like face to face?
Well, at some point, we will do that, and I think the very near future. Not this weekend, but soon.
Hopefully.
Is the
Uh,
cinch,
the what?
is the cinch open?
It should. I didn't pass by, but it should. But probably will force you to buy some food.
To buy a like 2-week-old spring roll?
Probably, yeah. like Mr. Beans. Okay, what did we watch today from our homes?
Today, we watched the no, not 2000, the 1990
Yeah,
masterpiece,
91, I guess, because the second
1991,
season.
somewhere in
Yeah.
there. We watched the first half of season 2 of Twin Peaks,
Mm-hmm.
the David Lynch television series that we, in a special recording, talked about the first season, which was only 8 episodes. Season 2 has 23, 24.
22.
So we broke up season 2 into 2 parts. Today we're going to talk about season 2, episodes 1 through 9.
Inclusive, yeah. Yeah, as they actually close the main arc of the story of the show.
They
Or,
did.
yeah, or so it looks.
Or so we think.
Yeah. So I think that you summarize the last one. Maybe I should summarize this, but it's like once again, there is a lot of stuff that happens. A lot.
A lot of stuff, and most of it defies description. I feel like. So let's talk about how David Lynch stepped away in season 2, right? He's still an executive producer, but he didn't direct any of these episodes. I feel like
No, he directed the first 2 episodes and the last episode.
of the season, not episodes 1 through 9.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. So the season, something that this season does is like it tries to make things awkward through stretching them out more than needed, and that's exactly how it opens. It's like we see at the end of the first season, Agent Cooper getting shot, and then for the first 5 minutes of the second season, we see him like just bleeding out in the ground, while there is like the room service guy just brings him like some milk.
A very, very old worker he's not there. That scene upset me so much. I wanted to fast forward it. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, how long are they going to make this go?
Yeah, they're just trying to make it like uncomfortable to watch, uncomfortable to see like someone bleeding on the ground saying like, please could you call a doctor? And the guy is like, just basically ignoring everything that he says. And when he leaves, he gets visited by a ghost giant that just give him like completely random and cryptic information about like these things are going to happen to you.
Yeah, it's
And
very, very cryptic. And he says, these 3 things are going to happen. And then he says, I'm going to take your ring and I will give it back to you once these 3 things have happened. So later, Agent Cooper recovers and he's wondering, was this a dream? But his ring is gone. So we have to assume it's real, right?
yeah. Did you realize if he had a ring in the first season? Because I didn't.
I didn't either. No.
So then the show he gets like rescued and rescued. Yeah, I think I don't necessarily remember, but it's like hours later. Andy and other people, because they're trying to call him from the police station, they just go to the hotel and they just find him still like just unconscious but bleeding out in the ground.
Because he was on the phone with the completely inept deputy when
Andy,
he gets
yeah.
shot. Yeah, Andy.
Yeah. And then we have I don't remember exactly at what point we are in, is that we have Sally recovering in the hospital. We have Leo. I'm going to be like going over different characters and like their storylines. That is like Leo, we have him like recovering from getting shot by Hank. That is Norma's husband that just went out of prison.
My God, so much happened in this, in the first 9 episodes of this.
Yeah, so he doesn't recover consciousness. He's going to remain as a vegetable. And as Sally is having an affair with Bobby, Bobby convinced her to just keep Leo as a vegetable home for just getting like a pension for taking care of him.
But that's in like the last 3 episodes, right? That's what happens.
I think that it happens on the 3rd episode, from the 3rd to the 9th. We see them like just being unhappy, taking care of Leo. As Sally needs to leave her job for just taking care of time.
I'm very happy that you told me that David Lynch directed the first 2 episodes, because I was furious at whoever I thought it wasn't David Lynch. I was furious at the person who directed episode 1, making me watch Agent Cooper bleed out like that. I was like, fuck you. Like, no, I don't want to watch this. But if it's David Lynch, I'm like, okay, like, I get it. There's something artistic about this.
That sounds a bit biased, I would say.
It is. It's completely biased. 100%.
Yeah, but what I could say that this second season does, is like leaving just Leo behind, on the side. We also have Audrey that is like being kept hostage in the One-Eye Jack.
The brothel that her father owns, and her father tried to fuck her as like the new girl without realizing that it was her, which is so fucking disturbing. Like, I don't think that would fly on network television today.
Oh no, definitely not. It's like I'm not even sure if it actually flew pretty well back then, because this was ABC, we said?
Yes.
ABC. So I'm just saying, by ABC standards, even on that time, on the 90s, I think this was like a very like pushing the envelope. And maybe they gave it because, exactly as you said, it's like, well, it's David Lynch, you have to give it some credit.
I keep wanting to call my mom and my dad and be like, did you watch this in 1990? Like, what was it like to see this on the television? Because it's out there. I'm still blown away that this was on like regular network television and not on cable. Because the things that are seen here, they're pretty experimental and kind of out there. To this day, I don't think Twin Peaks could show up on any like ABC, NBC, CBS. I don't think that they would try something like this. Do you?
Well, but last time you actually compare Desperate Housewives to this.
Yes, and since that, I've been continuing to watch Desperate Housewives, even when I should have been watching Twin Peaks episodes. And I love Desperate Housewives. It's super compelling. It's a good show, as we agreed, but it's not like, I would call Twin Peaks dangerous. I would call it experimental. Twin Peaks doesn't do any of that. They have the dramatic soap opera elements, but they play it pretty safe.
Yeah.
Where Twin Peaks is experimental. It is kind of out there.
Yeah, but I think that it's not only that it's like ABC right now is 100% for the family. It's like it's family oriented, But I also think that the 90s, they were, and the late 80s, they were more friendly with experimenting on TV. They were more friendly with it. Like, this doesn't have to be like the biggest TV show ever. Even we're talking about the X-Files, that it aged like pretty poorly, is that was on network television. It was on Fox. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, X-Files was very experimental, and the things they showed were kind of...
Yeah. I think that what you were talking here is a bit more, okay, we're talking about a woman, a girl, a 17-year-old girl, that she actually died after being raped by multiple people. and she had a heroin addiction, and she had a death wish, and actually was murdered by, spoiler alert, but if you're listening to this, it's like you see this coming, you were murdered by your father. That he was possessed by something.
Okay, so let's talk about that. We jumped right into, we finally discovered who murdered Laura Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
We found out that it's Leland, her father. Leland is supposedly possessed by an evil spirit named Bob. Bob we've been aware of from the beginning, almost.
Mm-hmm.
As you watched it, did you believe that he was possessed? Or is that more metaphorical that her father is a piece of shit that ended up murdering his daughter?
No, I mean, you got to think that this is not the first time that I watched the show. So it's like for me this time, it's like I was already like just picking like the specific signs about like the father. It's a bit weird. On the first season, not so much, but after he kills Jacques Renault, thinking that he's like the real killer of Laura, and he wakes up with the white hair, is that for that point he has gone insane completely.
So there's an interesting plot line in Desperate Housewives, you might be surprised, where Brie Vandekamp, who is completely anal retentive, her husband was murdered, she fell in love with the man who actually murdered her husband without her knowing, and she sees a therapist who she tries to talk to, and she's like, don't you believe in evil? And he says, no, there's no such thing as evil. There's whether people have mental health or whether they don't. And so when I was watching Twin Peaks, I was watching the episode where we discovered that Leland is Bob. And I think David Lynch wants us to believe that Leland was possessed. But I saw it from a much more pragmatic side where I was like, no, Leland is sick. He has a sickness. He murdered his daughter. He has a sexual obsession. What did you take away from, I think it's episode 7. And again, we're reviewing episodes 1 through 9 of season 2.
Yep.
What was your takeaway from that season where we discovered that Leland was responsible for Laura Palmer's death?
So what was my feeling? Or if I agree with you that maybe there was like some kind of sickness in Leland and there is nothing else?
I'm asking what your reading of that was. Do you think there's like an actual supernatural aspect to it that Leland was possessed? Okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's one of the reasons why I was telling you that albeit this storyline ends, is that they have been like setting up the stage from the beginning of the show for there is something else. You know, they mentioned on the first season when Cooper goes to the Red Room and he has this dream, is that they are like setting up, there is like something that they talk about, like the wall, and someone mentions the Black Lodge. And now on this season, there are like other mentions about like that, is that they have been talking about like there is more than it meets the eye. So the series, and this is like one of the things that they didn't play too well because there was like pressure from ABC, they shouldn't have revealed that Leland was the killer. They should have kept like just this kind of a slow pace, introducing concepts in the background, you know, like supernatural concepts, without jumping 100% into it. That is the feeling that I have in this second season, is like everything goes weird in the second season compared with the first one, and pretty fast.
I will say that in season 1, when Sheriff Truman introduces Special Agent Cooper into their secret society, Truman he says something like, there's something evil in these woods, you might not believe it, but there's something evil here. Yep. And I was super intrigued by that, and I was like, let's explore that. But then as the episodes went on, you came to realize, oh, there's nothing supernatural about this, they just want to fight the drug dealing 2 teenagers that's happening in their town. And I kept waiting for the supernatural aspect, and I feel like they didn't reintroduce the supernatural aspect until
the giant.
Bob. Well, no, the giant was definitely like out there, and I loved that scene. I loved it a lot.
Yeah, so I think that probably initially there was a different kind of vision about like doing something similar to the boiling frog situation. About, you know, it's like if we keep adding like small stuff in a very slow pace with this kind of quirky stuff, that everything else that we see is normal, but it's like if we keep adding like a slow like weirdness to it, it's like at what point can we go full weirdness? And that's the problem that I have with the change from the first to the second season, that I think that that's the pace on the first season. That is like, there's like some stuff that is weird, there is this dream. And in the second season, it's just completely all in, saying it's like, no, what it's going to be the differentiating and selling this show is this. And then you stop exactly at the end of episode 9. No?
I did, yes. Yeah.
There is more. There is like way more. They keep like just evolving all of that. So I think that from the perspective they were trying to say is like Bob and Mike. Yeah, Mike is the other one. The one arm man. Is like both of them, they are evil creatures for this Black Lodge, And they used to just enjoy killing people, and they were inhabiting humans.
So I completely accept your reading, but is it literal where there's just these sexual psychopaths, these sadists that want to murder girls, or is there a supernatural element? I couldn't reconcile this with me because Bob and what's the name of the French guy? The Canadian French guy?
Jax?
That's been murdered.
Jax Renault?
Yeah. Like, is there something more to them just being bad people? I don't think there is, but then the show continues on to have these supernatural elements, and it doesn't reconcile with me. Like, are we supposed to believe the Giant is completely, like, from this other world, and he's prophesying to Agent Cooper? Or are there just, like, some sick sons of bitches in Twin Peaks?
I would just tell you, if you are like just having a proper reconciling it and you want to just remain on the reality, the show becomes like weirder and weirder. And the third season, I can just tell you that like, if you don't embrace this at this point, the third season is not going to fly at all.
Well, again, I'm very glad you told me that David Lynch directed the first 2 episodes of season 2, because I was a little bit pissed off where I was like, wow, there's people that think they understand David Lynch and they want to take the story to these very dark places, but David Lynch doesn't do that in season 1. He doesn't. It remains very like planted in reality. Yeah, grounded in reality. And then in season 2, all of a sudden it was like, everything's crazy.
Yeah, and that's my main problem. Is like I didn't remember like that distinctive kind of shift, But it's like it's so drastic, so on your face that it's like it's almost like you're trying to make like a statement, And that's what makes me think that it's like maybe at the beginning he was thinking that look, maybe I don't want to, ever say that it was Leland who killed Laura Palmer, and I'm going to be like just stretching it out as much as I want, because it's not about that only. I think there is a bit more about like the building that he's trying to just display, the crazy supernatural world that is behind this small village.
Okay, I can accept that. And I will say that you had seen season 2. You've seen all 3 seasons, right?
Yeah.
So up until we started to watch this, I had seen season 1, and I've seen a couple episodes of season 2. I will say that I was completely blown away when we discovered that it was Leland who killed Laura Palmer. My jaw dropped. I was like, holy shit. And my reaction, I think, is a testament to the strength of the show and the storytelling behind it, because I was so invested that I was devastated when I found out it was
I think that when I watched it the first time, I was also devastated. And this is not, the thing is that this is something that you are never going to forget. So I'm pretty happy that you got to see this without it getting spoiled.
Yeah, and it was completely unspoiled. I had no idea. Up until that episode, I really thought it was the French Canadian that murdered her. I thought everything was solved, and then I saw this, and I was like, oh my god.
Well, or maybe it was Leo. I think that the first time that I watched it, is like, okay, it has to be Leo. Everything points to him, and besides that, like, it's so convenient that he goes into a coma, and he's not going to recover. But it's like, it has to be Leo.
And I will say that I'm very interested to see where the Leo plot goes, because again, we're reviewing episodes 1 through 9. At the end of the 9th episode, Leo has been shot. He went into a coma. He came out of the coma as a vegetable, right? And he's moved into the home that he shares with Shelly. Shelly is obviously dating Bobby. She's cheating with Bobby. And so now they're in this very claustrophobic home where they're questioning whether or not Bobby is lucid or not. And that is the storyline that I'm most interested in watching the rest of the season 2 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it like so soap opera, and not in the good kind of sense. But I can say that I'm more interested about Leo and knowing what is going to happen to him that with Nadine being back a teenager.
Can I just say that I'm super annoyed with that plot line? I'm super annoyed. Like, oh, she comes out of the coma.
And she's a teenager now.
And she's 18, yeah, as if that were a thing. It's not a medical condition. People don't like come out of comas thinking they're younger than they are.
Yeah. But just for
also, I want to say how pissed off I am with the like sudden appearance of this. I think it's Japanese. Is it Japanese or Chinese?
Asian. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but this Asian character appears as a man. It's so clearly not a man. You can see the breasts on this person, and they're pretending to like. Oh my god! I got super upset with that plot line.
Yeah, I gotta agree that that's another like kind of soap opera, like bad soap opera level kind of thing about like, oh, it's big reveal. I mean, you already know at this point that is Catherine, that she didn't die, and she actually just came back for just plot her revenge against Ben Horn. And something that I don't know you realize, but is that Ben Horn is supposed to be married to someone.
Yeah, but we never see her, right?
Oh, we don't see like his mentally challenged kid.
And see, so up until we started this recording, I thought that David Lynch completely stepped away creatively for season 2. So now you're telling me that he directed episode 1 and 2, which is great. I love them. Yeah. But I feel like if you look at season 1, there's a lot there that I think is very true to David Lynch. There's the soap opera aspect, there's the slapstick aspect. But I feel like once season 2 gets started, it just like kind of floats away from what David Lynch had intended, and there's kind of these absurd aspects without the like underlying like feeling of menace that he wants to feel, that David Lynch wants us to feel. And I feel like the show kind of loses its appeal because it's like so out there. And also that like David Lynch, he has this supernatural aspect, but in season 2 they take it to this next level. But I don't think that's authentically David Lynch. I think they're just like, oh, there's this popular show on television and it's weird and we're gonna take it to the next level. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like it took it to this next phase that doesn't feel authentic or realistic.
Yeah, I see your point, and I don't completely disagree with it. I think that, as I was saying, is that this was designed as a bit more of a slow pace or a slow burn kind of show, and I think that he had like a lot of pressure from ABC for just speeding it up, and is that you have to give us Who Killed Laura. You have to give someone. We cannot keep stretching this show forever. And
but that pressure on David Lynch, or was it on the showrunners who kind of took the show after season 1 and was like, yeah, we're going to turn this into 25 episodes?
Well, the show is not closed after the second season.
Well, yes, I mean, they had a third season, but
it remains completely open. You know, it's not like other shows that they say, okay, this is our last season, so we're good. It's like in this case, it was a bit more of a, we didn't know if there was going to be a third season back then or not. Well, people didn't know, and it's that David Lynch decided to left everything completely open at that point.
So are you telling me that the resolution of season 2 is going to be completely unsatisfying?
Oh, I got to say that I think that David Lynch had quite a bit of fun writing that episode and directing it, because I'm pretty sure that it was.
Would you say? And again, I haven't seen season 2. Well, I have now up until episode 9. Would you say that season 3 resolves itself in a satisfying way?
It resolves itself.
So it's not like open-ended, like there might be a season 4 in 2025.
Honestly, it gets resolved in a way, in a David Lynch way.
Okay.
You know, it's like it's not. I mean, you think Mulholland Drive doesn't have really a resolution because the resolution is the beginning per se. But it's like, if you analyze the story, it's like it has a resolution. It's not a happy resolution, but it's a resolution that it closes everything. That is like nothing else can happen with Naomi Watts because she just shot herself. If you think about Lost Highway, there is no real resolution. It's just a story, a cyclic story.
But in Lost Highway, I wasn't interested in a resolution. I was like, I'm going to go on this crazy story with David Lynch. I don't care where he takes me. It doesn't matter if there's a conclusion. But with Twin Peaks, it's different. Like, I want to understand where these characters are going. What's the end point? Do I ever get that?
You get something. Yeah, they go somewhere. Just leave it there. I think it's funny. I'm just tempted to just write a post-it about like this specific topic of the conversation for just showing it to you when we are done like the third season. About like, do you think that what I told you was true or not? But yeah, I understand what you mean. For me, it's like I still think that there is some kind of value. I love this kind of secret world, or you know, like different realities, that there is like a pure evil one, and there is some leakage through the woods. That's the reason why they are evil between those lots. You know, like the Black Lodge that is supposed to be like all evilness, and they flow into the woods.
So I will say that so season 2 starts with. We've brought it up in the past. Agent Cooper has been shot 3 times. He's lying on his hotel room floor, and a giant comes to speak to him. And the giant appears several times in those following 9 episodes, or not several times, but a couple times. I loved that, like that weird otherworldly kind of aspect to the story. I enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot in these first 9 episodes that's just very, very, very strange, and I embraced it 100%. And I will say that I did buy Twin Peaks on DVD in like 2005-6, and I watched all of season 1, and I watched 2 or 3 episodes of season 2, and I completely stopped. I lost interest. And this time, I'm completely committed. I want to know what happens next. And so today, I did stop at episode 9, but I want to know what happens next. And that's very different to my experience as the 22-year-old, 23-year-old.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think that the problem, I see that the quality dips a bit from the first season. Is that the first season, I think that is amazing, the kind of world building that it does, and how subtle it is with all the but supernatural aspects. And I think that it makes it like more impactful, you know, because it makes it like you don't talk about it like so much. You don't have like a 5-minute scene of a giant talking to a bleeding out man. It's like everything feels a bit more. It's like, was that just weird? Was that just crazy? Or is there really something more? And on the second show, like, no, there is something more. Here you go.
So again, I haven't seen season 3. I've only seen half of season 2. Of all the seasons, which one would you say you prefer? Just in terms of seasons.
The first season.
Yeah. And that's my initial reaction, is that season 2 has a lot there. I'm willing to watch it. I feel compelled to watch the rest. But at this point, I feel like season 2 can't compare at all to season 1.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a pity. I wish that they could have kept that level. Do you know, it's like maybe David Lynch was just no longer interested in the project, and that's whatever. Yeah, Leland kill Laura. Yeah, we're out. Just keep throwing other stuff. What do you think of the orchid guy? The setting.
I liked him. I found him interesting. I think that he committed suicide in like episode 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah.
And I feel like they killed him off too soon. I felt like the insight that he offered into Laura Palmer was very valuable, but I don't think they used him
properly to his full extent.
They could have used that to explore a lot more into the relationship she had with Laura Palmer. But overall, I did enjoy it. I liked that character. And what about you?
I like it too, but it's exactly the same feeling that I have. And this is like a problem that I have with this second season, that it feels like, and we will talk about it, it's like I may be misremembering like how the second season keeps evolving, but that some of the arcs, they don't go anywhere. It's like, for example, even on the first season, how does Nadine get hurt? I don't remember.
Her eye?
No, not her eye. It's like, when does she go into a coma?
She tries to commit suicide by taking pills, and she goes into a coma and she wakes up, Yeah, but it's like, at least I can actually say, okay, Nadine and Ed, they're not important to the story at all. It's that the only important thing that it does is going with Cooper to One Eye Jack. That's the only important thing that he does for the progress of the story. Society, and that's how he plays into it.
Yeah, but there is nothing else. And for Nadine, there is nothing. Is that Nadine is only the story that they actually have is a complete story about like the Drave runners. Albeit it's stupid, he actually goes somewhere that he tries to commit suicide, that it could actually have repercussions on other characters and the likes. I feel like there are like more stories on the second season that they don't go anywhere. And I felt like the orchid part, I felt it's like you could have like tried this somewhere, but it felt like you decided to just kill this character. Because I would like to just know, it's like, why do you have like so many diaries in there? Because it's not only Laura Palmer's diary, there are a lot of them in here. And you're a Sarin, who do you talk with?
And that's why I'm super curious about how much involvement David Lynch had in season 2. Because again, I felt like I was under the impression that he stepped away. And so I see all of these like weird like plot lines that they bring in and they just dismiss. I feel like David Lynch probably had in mind a place for the Orchid Guy to go, like something significant to contribute to the plot. But then the people that inherited the project were like, we don't know what to do. Let's just make him hang himself.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I think that actually on the first or the second episode is when Donna, the first episode when Donna becomes a bad girl.
And again, that's a plot line that's like doesn't go anywhere, and maybe it will go someplace in the second half of season 2. But it's like, she adopts this alternate like reality where she's like a bitch and she smokes and she's super promiscuous. Does it go anywhere?
No, because I think that on episode 9, after they discover that Madeleine, what's her name, cousin, Laura's cousin, has been murdered. It's that basically James and she comes back. Actually, they come back together after the Orchid Guy commits suicide. James and her, and it's like she goes back to just be the same person as she was before.
And we saw some of that in episode 8, 9. Like you could see they came back together, and they're like the innocence that they were supposed to be from the beginning.
Yeah.
But explain to me why did she have this like alternate personality? Like, what did it add to that? I don't know. There's nothing there.
I have no idea. I felt like so confused about like, did I miss something? Why is she behaving like a bitch now? It's like I didn't get it. It's like when Donna was supposed to be like the good girl, that everyone loves, that is such a good person. And it's like, and now she becomes a bitch. For 4 episodes or 5 episodes, she finds solace in the Orchid Guy, and it's like, the Orchid Guy is out of the picture. I'm going back with James, and I'm a good girl. Okay.
But I feel like there's a hypocrisy in myself that I expect an explanation to these characters and these plot lines. Whereas if I was very certain that David Lynch was directing this and he was in charge of the plot line, I wouldn't expect an explanation. When we watched Lost Highway, I don't care that nothing is resolved because I enjoy the journey. So I feel like when I watch Twin Peaks season 2, I'm too hard on the creators. I don't know. Ultimately, I felt like this is just it's a good show, but it's a little bit unsatisfying.
I just feel, as the first one feels like extremely compelling mystery, I feel like this one falls apart. It has like ton of gaps, and it's like just leaking water everywhere. And it's like the shape, the base that you're still using for this mystery is good because the foundation was good. But it's like instead of actually just keeping, like, I don't know how to say, like nurturing what was inside of the base, is that you just went with easiest kind of perspectives. That is like, I'm going to be exploring this. It feels like less polished.
I agree, and there was one storyline that I actually had a hard time with, where what is the name of the super rich guy? Is it Ben?
Ben Horn, yeah.
Ben Horn. Ben Horn's daughter, I can't think of her name either.
Audrey
is kidnapped and being held hostage at Ben Horn's brothel.
One-Eye Jack.
I just felt like none of that was believable. Like, Ben Horn owns the brothel. How is she supposed to be being held hostage there? I just feel like these plot lines that are explored in season 2, they're weak. They have a lot of issues. They don't like stand up to any sort of scrutiny.
Well, but that was for forcing. I would say this, and you will actually discover when you start watching the 10th episode. It was for forcing Cooper to go into the One-Eye Jack for rescuing her, and that will have repercussions. Let's just leave it there.
Yes, but also when Agent Cooper goes and he, how would you describe what he does? He goes with Sheriff Truman and they distract the brothel workers so that they can rescue Audrey. It also feels very unreal, and that Agent Cooper could have saved her at any time. And what is Audrey even doing in the brothel after she got caught and sent home? Like, there's so much that just, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that Ben Horn didn't have like a complete grip of what was happening from One-Eye Jack. He was delegating a lot into the Black Rose. It was the name of the girl. Or Blackie.
Blackie, yes, that was it.
So at that point, with Jean Reno, that he was the brother of Jax,
who was also Bill's mentor from Kill Bill.
Huh.
Uma Thurman goes to track down Bill, and he goes to a brothel in Mexico, and she meets the guy who tells her where Bill is. That's the same guy.
Gotcha. Interesting, I didn't realize. So Blackie and Jean Renault, they decide to blackmail Ben Horn because Ben doesn't want anyone to know that he owns the brothel because of the kind of damage that could do to reputation. So, of course, 100% far-fetched, that it doesn't make too much sense when you start like just analyzing what is going on there. But I didn't have too much problem with that part until the next episode, until the 10th episode.
Well, we can't talk about that.
We can't. You haven't seen it yet. But just think of my words. That is okay. That's okay. That's how this progresses.
So I will say that I found Josie an incredibly compelling character in season 1, and what they did to her in season 2, it's like, oh no, there are these like master crime heads in Hong Kong, and
they're using her,
but they don't explain any of it, and it's like, this character was so interesting. Sheriff Truman's in love with her, she owns the mill, Catherine hates her, there's so much to do there, and then they just send some like anonymous person from Hong Kong and was like, well, you have to move back to Hong Kong now, and you have to betray the sheriff, go home.
The problem that I have with that part is, I agree with you, is like, even for the beginning, the first 6 episodes of the first season, she does a big team, like being under danger, and you actually the kind of expected kind of reaction on the audience is that they want for her, they root for her. About like nothing bad should happen for her, but she has like the support of Sheriff Truman, so you're going to be expecting like she being okay, and then she turns into this kind of femme fatale about like maybe she even planned the murder of her husband, all for the money. We don't know that. Is that there is no 100% confirmation, but there is an insinuation that Hank and Josie, they were the ones that they planned the murder of her husband, Andrew, I think that it was.
Yeah.
And I can roll with that. That is okay, you want to do like this twist, this very noir twist. That is I'm fine. I like noir. That's totally fine. But then on the second season, she goes back to being a victim. There's no, it wasn't me. It was like really my masters that they have been manipulating me for actually doing something.
And this is an excellent example where I say I do like season 2, but I think there's so many wasted opportunities, like Josie. Like they could have turned her into a very interesting character and they didn't. And that's fine, but I think this is just an example of where we can clearly see that season 2 is far weaker than season 1, but I don't blame the show creators. They had to all of a sudden take 8 episodes and turn it into 20, how many? 24?
22, yeah.
22? So what do you do with that?
Well, 22, and also that you have to resolve who killed Laura Palmer as soon as possible.
So that's what you were saying. ABC was like, hey, you have to tell who killed Laura Palmer. They didn't even want that to be like the season 2 finale?
No, just think, we're talking about Lost. I think that it was when we're talking about the first season. And it's like, it's another show from ABC. And it's that they wanted from the beginning to say that just give us 2 more seasons. And we can just complete, we have some ideas about where we want to go. It's like, no, we want this to continue 9 years or as long as we actually have audience. It's like, what the fuck do we do? It's like, we never thought about like expanding this that long. And there's the thing that is like, if you go to HBO, I mean, I don't know, in 1990 would have been an option for HBO, but it's like, you could actually say that, look, we have this idea for a show that is going to last 2 seasons. And they're going to be like, okay, we'll give you 1, and if it goes okay, we'll give you a second one. And yeah, at that point, you're not going to be like pushing you for having a third one. They may give you like some, like some kind of help for starting a new show, but it's like they would trust you for just completing the story in the second season. With this one, is that they basically told him, is that, look, you have to complete Who Killed Laura Palmer and just continue the show.
So I loved season 1. I liked what I've seen of season 2. I love absolutely that David Lynch had a mainstream TV show. That will never happen again, right? But I do think that the show would have benefited from being on HBO or Showtime, where David Lynch could have just done what he wanted to do without any pressure from the network to resolve things in a timely manner or resolve things at all. I think this would have been much stronger had it been on HBO, for instance.
Yeah, so one of my favorite shows that it was on HBO actually is called Carnivale. I don't know if you ever watched it, but it was on Carnivale.
Oh, yeah. No, I know it.
Yeah, so it was only 2 seasons. Funny enough, the midget short person from the Red Room, the one that is dancing, is that he's one of the main characters in Carnival. Yeah. Random connection, but the show only lasted 2 seasons, and it was created with the idea of lasting 6. And it was actually completely left open. And HBO, I mean, that's the reason what I think is like, I don't think that HBO is like the best platform for this. HBO decided to keep the rights because the creator, Daniel Knopfman, I think that it was, is that he was like, I would like to continue the story maybe as a comic or whatever, but it's like, I would like to just have the rights. HBO said like, nope, never. This is ours.
So HBO killed it.
Exactly. That's the reason what I'm saying is like HBO will give you as many seasons as you want as long as the show is successful. Otherwise, no. And we are not going to give you your rights.
So do you feel the same, that if this had been on a network or a channel that gave you more creative freedom, that this could have been better? And again, I want to say that I like this. I do. there are some issues in season 2 that I can't really reconcile with my own tastes.
Yeah. I think that it could have been better. Also, just think that seasons on HBO, they're shorter by definition than on network TV. Is that this was going to be like another week. He could have stopped a season at this point and say like, okay, now we know who killed Laura Palmer. Now I can actually think if there is like a way of following this up that I would be interested in, or I drop it. But no, he actually had to close almost as soon as possible who killed Laura Palmer. That's the reason why I think that everything was so rushed. Everything is like, okay, now everything is paranormal. Just throw like a lot of stuff. And once again, the resolution, I feel like it's a bit lazy about like, okay, now I have to remember. Now that I have my ring, I'm going to remember what Laura told me on the drink. And Laura didn't give me a hint. Laura gave me the solution on the red room. Is that she just spelled it to me. She just gave me like a post-it telling me, that my father is the killer. That I felt is like, I don't know. At least from this perspective, if you always thought that Laura was telling you who the murderer was on the red room, at least I appreciate that it was only after 18 episodes when we had like some kind of confirmation. Because if I had to spend like 5 years before knowing that the whole solution, was like Laura spelling in for you, instead of some kind of progression towards that, I would feel like a really pissed.
So, do you agree or do you not agree that this would have been a better show on a network that he had more creative freedom?
Oh yeah. But I also think that 95% of the TV that we see out there, it could be better in a place where creators have more freedom.
I recognize what you say, but I would disagree. For instance, with Desperate Housewives, I don't think that Desperate Housewives being on HBO would make it a better show. But in the case of Twin Peaks, I think the network pressuring him to do something kind of ruined season 2. And if he had complete creative freedom, I think this would have been elevated and taken to the next step. Whereas because ABC was pressuring him to solve the murder of Laura Palmer, which I think he probably knew Leland was going to be the murderer from the beginning, and he wanted to explore that, but he wasn't given the freedom to do that. So I feel like, did we rate season 1? Because season 2, I would rate a little bit less than season 1, and oh shoot, there was something related to our questions that I wanted to ask you.
So would you watch it again? Would you recommend it? Could you remember it? Is there anything artistic about it? Is it timeless?
I can't remember. So answer the questions. Tell me.
I could watch it again. At least this part of the second season, I will watch it again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you and I have talked about how almost everything that's spoken in Twin Peaks has some sort of meaning. So I completely believe that if I were to rewatch the entire series, I would catch things that I didn't catch in the first place. So yes, I would watch it again.
Yeah, would you recommend it?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is incredibly clever television. I think it's unique. I could be wrong, but I don't think we've seen anything like this. And if there was something you would be like, oh yeah, this is like Twin Peaks, I would watch it instantly.
Yeah. I would recommend it from the perspective of closing the loop with the first season. Instead of not leaving like the mystery forever unresolved. You'd be almost like just saying, I don't know, like just saying like, what's a whodunit kind of murder mystery? And it's like, yeah, but the last 10 minutes are terrible. It's like, yeah, but you still want to know who killed. Even if the resolution is terrible, it's like you still want to know that. And I'm not saying that this is terrible. I'm just saying that it's at a different league, I would say, that from the first season.
Can you name another television show that you think is this interesting? And I'm not saying this is the most interesting television show ever, but I do think that it
What's Carnivale? Now that you have HBO, if you are looking for something like Twin Peaks that is so interesting, it's like, I think that Carnivale is amazing.
I did rent Carnivale one time. And I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of it, so I haven't seen any of it, but I did have enough interest at some point to watch it. Yeah. So yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, but it's clear that it drinks from, like Twin Peaks. It's like it's another show from the same kind of school. And you want
Okay,
something.
so there are other shows that you find just as compelling as this. Okay.
Yeah, I mean there are many. I think that I like TV more than you do. You know, I at least I think that I appreciate. I'm not saying that you don't. I'm just saying that it's like I'm more open about saying that there is good TV out there of many different genres.
I do think there's good TV out there. I don't watch much of it now just because of my lifestyle, but I think there's good TV out there. I mean, in my list of to watch, I have The Leftovers.
Just watch The Leftovers. That was the other one that's going to be like telling you that that's not like Twin Peaks, but it's amazing.
And I will watch it, yes.
I would recommend it, as I said, it's just for closing the loop at least. If I could remember, yes, I definitely remember that Leland was the killer from the first time because I knew like that scene when he goes crazy on the cell. That is true that it's not the most iconic scene on the second season, but I think that it still like works like a bit of a closing the loop kind of thing, you know, of memorable.
So, I don't disagree with you. I think that I will also remember the scene. My jaw dropped when we found out Leland was the killer. But ultimately, I do think that season 2 is forgettable. There's nothing in it that was like, wow, this is incredible. In 5 years, if you were to ask me, like, tell me about season 2, I would be like, I don't know.
I'm trying to think if I would remember anything else. You know, because there are like many scenes of the first season that I remember like exactly like that. And on the second season, I didn't even remember like the 5 minutes of the bleeding out until it started. It's like, oh, I remember this lasts forever. And then the giant. I remember there was like a giant at some point.
Because, and I don't like to admit this, but season 2 is forgettable. At least for me, there's nothing in there that's like, wow, this is incredible television. Again, I admit when I found out Leland was the murderer, I was completely shocked. I will remember that, but that took like, what, 7 episodes to get there? And yeah. I don't think any 7 episodes are
memorable.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that there is anything artistic about this season so far?
So if you had asked me that question before you told me that David Lynch directed episodes 1 and 2, I would say absolutely not. But because of my biases, when you told me that, I was like, oh yeah, David Lynch he's a master. He took us to these places that it felt super uncomfortable. I feel like season 2 continued on with the kind of weird ideas of season 1, but it didn't add anything to it.
Yeah.
There's nothing exceptional about the first 9 episodes of season 2. There's nothing. I don't think there is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's a bit of a, not really like missed opportunity. It's a bit more, it's like it doesn't evolve. It's like in TV, what you expect is like from one season to another, is like, yeah, there has to be like some kind of departure and some kind of evolution, but you need to remain like more or less, I don't know, like close to what the previous season was. Story based or sensibility based, even if we talk about like something like American Horror Story, there is like you just change the setting, everything can change, but you still have like several elements that they repeat from the previous season. It's like on this one, I feel like the story just went at a different pace, the characters started to lose steam, and it's like from the artistic perspective, I just feel that, well, you're using the same settings as before, and you're using the same music mostly as before, but I didn't have like almost any scene that I would say like the music has been used masterfully in here.
I agree with you.
Sloppiness.
I feel bad if we're criticizing David Lynch because he was under constraints of a network, of ABC, which is family friendly, blah, blah, blah. So if season 2 isn't memorable because of the restraints that ABC put on him, that sucks. But if you look at season 2 objectively, there's nothing there. There's nothing there that's new or interesting, and I will forget season 2 completely.
Yeah, and once again, is that we're not talking about David Lynch as a creator here, is that we're talking about a specific piece of work that he did, and especially coming after a really amazing first season, that it just basically defined what modern television is. So
yeah, and I do think this show completely revolutionized what television could be. I don't think there's been anything like this up until that point.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is that idea of people just talking about this show. People had never talked about any other show in the same kind of way. It's like maybe soap operas, but it was not a generalized kind of mystery that everyone was just talking about, that there was not a kind of negative connotation. So I think that it helped to just elevate the soap opera format, just thanks to probably the last defender that you could expect of the soap opera genre, that is David Lynch. In this one, I just feel like, and I think that this actually answers like our next question, that is like, is it a timeless piece? A timeless piece is that for me, this is a timeless piece from the perspective that it follows up the first season, and it just completes the main mystery of the first season. But otherwise, if you watch a show that it starts on the first episode about like with someone bleeding out, I will feel like, sure, I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think season 1 definitely pushed the envelope. This is like, hey, this is new. This is on network television. But season 2 doesn't do anything to kind of take that to the next level.
Yeah, that is a pity. I'm still interested, especially after seeing Mulholland Drive so many times. Is that I am still really interested to see what David Lynch is going to be doing with this TV show on Netflix.
I would really like him to direct something new.
Yeah. Would you turn this into a movie?
To be honest, season 2, I think would have benefited from being in a 2.5 hour format. I think there's so much. I honestly think that the creators of the show were trying to fill up how many? 20 hours? 20 hours of content. There's some valuable content here, but I think if it had been a 2.5 hour movie, it would have been stronger. Just talking about season 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that on the first season, even like the stories, once again, like the Drake Runner, that they don't matter too much, they're still interesting to watch. You still care about everything that is going on with the rest of the characters. In this one, I think that you could have trimmed like 80% of the story that you see on the screen, and you will have the same story, and a bit more like condensed and even more compelling to just watch.
It wouldn't have affected anything.
Yeah. Should we score this? Should I score first? Because I think that you scored first the last time.
Okay, you go.
Yeah, my score is a 6.5.
That's my score exactly. I mean, this is better than your average television, 100%, but it's not elevated. It doesn't take the medium to a different level. It's just like good entertainment, but nothing more.
Yeah, honestly, it's not bad, but it's like, I think, as I was saying, this, like, for me, it's 2 leagues below what the first season was. That is, when it clicks, it's amazing, and it's like, I feel like this one never really clicks. And the problem is that you have a reference, you have a frame of reference about like how good this could be, and it hurts even more, like just seeing that it's like, but it's not working. It's like just lazy and sloppy.
Yep, I completely agree.
So, I mean, lazy and sloppy. It's like, it's still a 6.5. It's still like enjoyable to watch, but it's still like, it's no longer elevated.
Yeah, no, it's better than average, 100%, but it's just not, above good. Yeah, and I think this is an interesting thing, because you could make the point that it's like, well, when you say that he puts the envelope so hard on the first season, what can he do? Is there anything that he would do would never live up to expectations? But it makes me think about like TV shows that they actually, their first season is not the first one. It may be like the third or the fourth one. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, it's not the most common thing, but is from David Lynch, I would expect him to at least like just pull it. Yeah.
We will be reviewing the last half. It's more than half, but the last half of season 2 in the next podcast or a future podcast, and we will eventually be watching season 3.
After watching Firewalk with Me.
Wait, we're gonna finish season 2 watch Fire Walk with Me and then season 3. Oh my god.
Or is it too much, man? I mean, we can stop. We can drop from this. I don't want to torture you.
No, I watched Fire Walk with Me, but I had never finished season 2. So I would very much like to finish season 2 and then see what David Lynch had to say with the film. So
yeah, definitely that's the order that we should do it, you know, because the third season is like completely separate. Well, completely separate. It follows, but it's like 20 years later.
So 3 episodes related to Twin Peaks. The second half of season 2.
4 episodes. 4? Yeah, because the season 3 is 18 episodes or 20.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. 4 more episodes, whatever.
In any case, today was like extraordinary kind of, well, extraordinary not because of the quality, never because of the quality on this podcast, but it was not a regular kind of episode. So for the next week, for the next time, we will still be watching Happy Go Lucky. That was our last pick.
By Mike Lee.
Yep.
Normal, happy film.
Normal, sure, yeah. And to those people out there, thank you so much for listening to us.
And wash your hands until you're vaccinated.
Well, they should keep washing their hands.
Always,
always.
Yeah. Always.
Basic hygiene. We sponsor that here. Okay. Bye.